Hello guys, and welcome to another TKG Games tutorial. In this tutorial we're going to be looking at the interview question that asks us to find if a string is unique or not. So how do you know if a string is unique or not? Well, all of the characters in that string would only have to occur once. So how do we solve this problem? Well, we can take a couple of algorithms and figure out which one is the best solution. But like with all problems, it's always good to start with the brute force algorithm that checks for every possible outcome so that we see how the question itself is asked. But our final answer would have to be the most optimal one to solve the problem. So let's go ahead and take a look at the brute force solution. So let's say we have a string, and I'm going to use hello for this one because it's short, but it's not a unique string, right? And you guys can clearly see why. So what we would do first is we would check H with E and see, well, is H equal to E? It's not equal, so we move to the next character. Is H equal to L? No, well, it's not. So we move to the next one. It's H equal to L? No, it's not. Then we move to the next one. It's H equals to O? It's not. So we get E next. We check, is E equal to L? Well, it's not. It's E equal to L? No, it's not. It's E equal to O? No, it's not. So we are now at L. We check L with L. Well, we see that L is equal to the next consecutive L. So we can just stop here because we found that the string is no longer unique. So we don't care about anything after this L right here, right? So what we can do here is just return false. However, if the outer loop goes onto O and ends, then we can go ahead and return true. Well, this is how the brute force solution works. So we have to check every character, right, against every consecutive character adjacent to it, all right, to the right of it, all right. So this is how the brute force solution works. So let's go ahead and actually build this program in Java. All right, so give me a second to set up my keyboard because I have a small table and I have to use a quantum tablet to explain the solution. So give me a second and I'll be back. Alright guys, so I've just gone ahead and set up a simple class using the IntelliJ IDEA IDE. I've called this one string unique test. And what I want to do is kind of break things down in methods because we're going to have more than one method. So I'm going to it's going to be a static method just because it's easier to call. And I'm going to call this one brute false. Okay, so this is going to be our brute false solution. It's going to take in the string that we want to see if it's unique or not, right? So there are initial things that we have to take care of. First thing is to check if the string is null, right? So if null, then we can just go ahead and return false. All right, so if the string is null, we return false right there and then. All right, what we want to do is also ask the interviewer if an empty string is valid as unique. So for this solution, I'm gonna think that it's gonna be unique, okay? But if it's not unique, then you would have to add another if statement that would check to see if the string is empty. So you can do something like this: if str.is empty, then you can go ahead here and also return false. Or you can do the same thing here to say if it's empty, or if it's null, or if it's empty, right, just return false. So it's up to you how you want to do it, right? But in this case, I'm going to make sure that an empty string is part of the solution. All right, so what I want to do first is create a for loop. So I'm going to create an outer for loop. All right, just going to start us at the first character, and then we're going to check it against the length This should be just a regular simple for loop. Then we need an inner for loop. So we're going to do var. And this is going to equal the outer for loop plus 1, because we want to check the consecutive character to the right of it, all of the characters to the right of it, right? And then we're going to do the same thing with the conditional. All right, so what I want to do is we're going to do this. We're going to say if the character, I'll do str, right, at the outer is equal to the character in the inner, right, at the inner index, then we can go ahead and just return false, right? If this passes, then we can go ahead and return true. All right, and this is it for the first solution. So we can either create a test class outside of this, which is pretty easy to do, or we can just do this in main. So I'm going to use main instead. But typically it's good to write your own test classes, all right? And it's something that you need to know how to do. So I'll do there's just a shortcut here, and I'm going to pass in the brute force solution. And I'm going to pass in first, I'm going to pass in the null. So if we pass in the null, we should expect it to return, I'll run this here. We should expect it to return false because we checked for that. If we pass in an empty string here would be considered to be unique. So it is going to pass, to give us true, all right? And if we pass something like hello, we saw that it was false for our solution that we did with the Quadcom tablet. So we can see that that gives us false. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's move on with the second solution. All right. So the second solution would have to use our knowledge of sets. So we know that in a set there cannot be any duplicates in a set. So we can go ahead and implement a solution using sets. So let's go ahead and let me explain how that works. So I'm going to open up this thing again, and let me just clear everything out. And give me a second, so let me adjust that. All right, let's do this. All right, so the second solution, we're going to use our knowledge of sets, right? And we know that set has this contains method. So there are two ways you can use sets for. One way would improve the solution, and one way won't. All right, so let's take a look at the first one that we can do. So we're going to use hello again. All right, and for some reason it's messing up, so let me see if I fix that. All right, so we do have hello, just kind of, all right. So we have our set container. It is a container, and I'm just gonna put this like this. All right, so what I want to do first is we want to go ahead and we want to add h, so you can see check h. All right, but okay, so this is going to be the brute force, kind of the brute force ish, but it's still going to give us the result of o to the n for the worst case. All right, and for the best case it would be if the string is actually empty. All right, because we don't really want to do this, but this solution is kind of weak because what set does is it do the no duplicate, right? So no duplicate. So if we went ahead and added all of this here, we end up with something like this, right? So just looking at this, you can tell the significant difference, that if the string is unique, then the length, which is 5 here, should match the length here, which is supposed to be 5, but here it's 4. So we know that if we put something in a set and all of the characters are not unique, then the set itself, what we add to the set, is going to be less than the length of the actual string, right? But however, it's like we would have to go through the entire string put that inside of the set to figure out if there's a difference in the length, which is going to be O to the n, right, for the runtime algorithm, because it's linear, right, but we have to go through every character. But what we can do is optimize this by using the contains method. All right, so we can check first to see if this right here contains the character that we're currently looking at, and if it doesn't, then we just add that. If it does, then we can go ahead and just return false. So let's go ahead and see how that works. So we do have our hello here, and I'll just create a new container for the set. So what we first do is we check to see if the current character is in the set, and if it's not in the set, then we'll add it. So the first one we're looking at H, and H is not in here, it's currently empty, so we're going to add H. Okay, next thing we want to do is we want to add E. So we have E right now, we check E in here, no, it's not in here, so we're going to add E. And then L, so we check is L in here, well, it's not in there, so we're going to add L, my bad. And then we go to the next L, well, is that L in there? Yeah, it's already in there, so we're just going to go ahead and return false. All right, so what happens is that we will stop at the second one and just return false. If it goes through everything, then and the length of the string is done, then it's going to be true. All right, so let's go ahead and implement this solution. Give me a second and I'll be right back. All right, so let's go ahead and implement that solution. So this is going to be another private static boolean, and I'm going to call this one set solution, and it's going to take in the string str, and like always, and what I'm going to do here is just import this. This is for people that want to just use, for people that don't. I'm not using JDK10 because you need JDK10 for this. So I'm going to do import java.util, and I'll do hasset. All right, the reason why I'm using hasset right here is because I'm going to use the local var here, which I'm kind of encouraging people to use, so I might as well just stick to it myself. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to create a local var, and it's going to be set, and this is going to equal a new hasset. And remember that this is not going to be a raw type, so I need to pass in character to fix that. So this is how you would create a set of characters using the var keyword. So we have this right here. So what we need to do is we need to utilize the for loop. But before we actually do that, let's go ahead and do the if. So we're going to say if str equal to null, then we're going to go ahead and just return false. All right, so with that done, so let's go ahead and create the for loop here, and I'm going to convert the string to a char array. All right, so I'm going to use to char array, and then we're going to work with some, we're going to look at the solution. So what we're going to do, we're going to say if str, right, dot, no, let's do set dot contains. See, I'm messing up my own solution. So set dot contains c, right, then we can go ahead and just return false. Else what we can do, we say set dot add c, right, and if this goes all the way to the end, then it means that all of the characters are unique, so we can just return true here. All right, so with that said, let's go ahead and do a test. So I'm going to change this out to the set solution, and this should return false, right, because we know that hello is not unique. So let's actually do something that's unique, and I think my name is unique. All right, so let's go ahead and run this. so that gives us true. All right, and if we pass in empty string, that should give us true as well. So this is the second solution. So now let's work with the third solution. All right, and let me pull my tablet up and I'll be back. All right, so let me go ahead and open this up. Let me clear it out. All right, so the third solution would require us to use the ASCII table. So the ASCII table is used to represent characters, right? So what we can do is we can use that to figure out if a character has a duplicate or not by using an array that keeps track of all of the index position numerical numbers that we can increment. All right, so we know that the ASCII table with the most significant numbers would be equal to 256. All right, so that's used to represent the characters. All right, that should be the entire length of the array, which I think is normally the 128, right, plus 28, which, because it's literally negative 127, 0, 128, right? So that gives us the 256. Little stuff, little computer stuff. Anyway, so what we're gonna do is let's assume that we still have our hello, right? And let's say that H is gonna be at 0, L is represented, E is represented by 1, L is represented by 2, so we have two L's here. So, and then O is represented by 3, right? So we're gonna have an array of the entire size is going to be 4. We're gonna do that, that, and that. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3. All right. So what we can do is we could check this. So what we're gonna do is we start with the number here, right? And we're going to convert this to the index position. So we want to get the index representation of H, which is going to be O. So when we see H, we go to the O spot and we increment the initial values here, because this is going to be a primitive type array. So that means that all of the array values are going to be at default, which is going to be zeros for int, right? So when we see an H, what we're going to do is we're going to increment the value here by 1. So here is going to be 0, so we're going to put 1. All right, so next we're at E, and E is represented by 1. So what we're going to do is we're going to increment 0, and 0 is going to turn to 1. So now we're here at L, and L is 2, so we add a 1, right? So then we go again, we meet L again. Remember, L has to be represented by 2. However, there's already a 1 here, right? So if we go ahead and increment this part right here, and eventually this becomes 2, so we can say, well, for a string to be unique, then the only thing that should be in this spot should be 1 and nothing greater than 1. So if the value in here is greater than 1, that means that it's no longer a unique string. So we can go ahead and just return false if the value exceeds 1, right? If it doesn't, then we're going to go ahead and return true. All right, the runtime for this algorithm is still on, because we have to still visit all of the characters if it's unique, and right, and so if it's unique, we have to go through all the characters to return false regardless. So the worst case solution is always going to be or then, all right, for the actual solution. So let's go ahead and implement this in Java, and I'll be right back. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and implement the arrays solution. So, look at me messing up my own stuff. Alright, so I'm going to create another private static boolean, and I'm going to call this one array solution. Alright, just going to take in the string. Alright, so first we want to do is we want to just keep a final, let's do ASCII code. All right, this is going to be equal to 256. All right, and this should be final. All right, and then what we want to do is we want to create an array. So we're going to say char. Let's see, let's call this counter. You know what, actually, what am I doing? Var counter. All right, so this is going to be counter. This is going to be equal to new int, and let's pass in the ASCII code. So then we want to go ahead and just check for the null. So do str equal to null. Then we're going to go ahead and return false. Besides, you could probably use like threads. You could use the atomic boolean. There's a lot of things you can do with this problem. Just depends on how you want to implement it. There's no one right solution, right? As long as it works and as long as it's optimized and it gives you O to the n for the worst case. All right, so now we have that. We can go ahead and create, let's just use the for each loop here, and I'm going to use char, and it's going to be C, and I'm going to convert this to the char array. All right, so with this done, all we can do is we just go ahead and check. So we're going to say, well, you know what, let's do this first. So this is a good way to increment an array. So we're going to do the counter. All right, and to increment the array at the spot of the matching character, we can use the character class that get numeric value, pass in C, right? So if that matches the numeric value, so this returns an int, and that matches that, we're going to increment that. So that's how we would increment the spot where the actual ASCII table represents that character, which is going to be the integer number. All right, so remember that A converted to integer is actually 65. So if we had A, it would increment the 65 spot inside of the array. All right, so next one to do is going to check. It's going to say if the counter, right, at the character dot get the numeric value spot, if that is greater than 1, then we can go ahead and return false. All right, and if that is done, then we can go ahead and return true. So remember, this is a linear algorithm, so there is no way for you to kind of get this solution without having to go through the linear array. All right, so let's go ahead and test the array solution. So do SRT and do the array solution. And first, let's pass in empty string. And let's run this. And you can see that the empty string just come out as true, just like we want it. If we pass in null, then it should return false. Like I said, always ask the interviewer exactly, but null is going to crash your program unless you're using some type of thread to redirect the way that the program is running. All right, so one part fails, the other part doesn't fail. Also, if we pass in something, just pass in my name here, and don't forget to put this in strings. What am I doing? All right. This. All right, so this should return true like the other one. All right, so this is the array solution. So we have one more solution that uses the Java string class. We can utilize the index of and the last index of. All right, so let me pull this here for a second. So this is the Java string class, and this has a lot of cool methods that we can use with documentation and stuff. So what we can do is we can use index of, and index of is going to return the so this is also we can use a char here as well. So this is going to return the first occurrence of the first character that we're looking for, right? And let's say that there are two duplicate characters in there. So what we can do is we can use the last index of to find the one in the back, and the index of to find the one in the string in the first part. And if the So if the last and the first index equals, that means that the string is actually the same. But if it doesn't equal, then that means that they're not the same. All right, so that means that there's actually a duplicate string in there. So let's go ahead and take a look at that solution. All right, I'll be right back. All right, I got things set up. So I've decided this is going to be the last solution because the time is getting way out. I do have like 2 more solutions, and if you're interested about how those work, please let me know down in the section comment below so I can post it in another video. But or yeah, I could have it on GitHub or something like that. All right, so this one I'm going to use the index off and the last index off. So how does this work? So for example, let's say that we have our string hello, right? Well, this is going to be inside of an array. Remember that a string, we can get the characters individually, right, by using the char@. So what it's going to do is going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if we use just the index off, and let's say we pass in char h, right? So it's going to go ahead and return 0 for the h here, right? And what it does is it returns the index location where it finds that character. However, let's work with h here. So L here. So L here has duplicate. So if we did the index of L, so let's do index of, and let's do the L, then it's going to return the first occurrence in the front, which is going to be 2. And if we use the last index off, then it's going to go ahead and return 3. All right. However, let's say we had this thing like this. Let's say we had another string. We had a U string, right? All right. So this is going to be U. So 0, 1, and 2. All right, so let's say we're looking for y. So if we use the index of y, it's going to give us 0. And if we use the last index of, last index of y, it's still going to go ahead and give us 0. So how do we tell if the string is not unique? So if the index of, right, is not equal to the last index of, all right, so remember that these two for L, so L is less than the first part, the front part is going to be less than the last part, the back part, right? So we can use this to our knowledge here. But what we can just do is say, well, 2 and 3 don't equal, right? But if we were to look at the same character using the index of and the last index of with a string that is unique, we realize that we get the same index locations, all right? And this is how we can use this to come up with a solution for ourselves. So let's go ahead and implement the solution. It's really fast and easy. All right, so I'll be right back and pull up the Java program. All right, so I'm back and I'm gonna try to make this fast. So we're gonna have another private static boolean, and I'm gonna call this one index solution. All right, and we're gonna take in our string. All right, so now that we have the string, we're going to check to see if it's null. So we're going to say if x equal to null. Then we're just going to go ahead and return false. All right. All right. So next we're going to do is we're going to use the char array. So I'm going to say for char c, and I'm going to use the str.toChar array. And I'm going to say if so we're going to do str dot index of C, right? So the character we're looking at that we find is not equal to str dot last index of C, the current character we're passing in. Then let's go ahead and return false. Else we're going to return true. Alright, so that's it. This is how short this one is. So let's go ahead and test this. So I'm gonna call this one the index solution, and just gonna clear this out. Alright, so if we pass in Gerald, and Gerald is a unique string, you see that we do get true. Let me just add an L here so that we see that it returns false. So I'm gonna go ahead and run that. So you see that returns false. If we had an empty string, you would see that that also returns true. Alright guys, this will be it for this tutorial. I know it was a hectic long tutorial, but if you're interested in the other two solutions that I have, please let me know down in the comment section below, and I will have a video on that for those who are interested, so you guys can look at it. This program should be on GitHub. I'm going to add this on GitHub, and I might just add the other two solutions there as well. I'm not going to go ahead and explain make a video to explain how I got it, but at least you guys can see that this solution is going to be there. Alright guys, this is beautiful tutorial. If you like this tutorial, give me a thumbs up, please subscribe and like my video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.